Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jordan and I am a licensed insurance agent in all 50 states. So when it comes to insurance, I get a lot of questions on a daily basis about different coverages and features of individual policies as far as like auto insurance goes. Homeowners as well, but mostly auto insurance. There's a lot of misconceptions out there on, what type of coverages actually cover you, what type of coverage covers the other party when you're at fault. So I want to clarify some of that today. We're just going to take off a little piece to give you a little bit more information. So as far as liability insurance goes, so liability is always going to be if you're at fault, you're liable for the accident, it covers the other party. So whether it's for bodily injury or property damage, liability, anything that has the name liability in it will always cover the other person. So when it comes to bodily injury liability, I'm in the state of Texas, so the state minimum would be $30,000 in coverage per person for bodily injury liability and $60,000 in coverage per accident. So what that means is if someone's injured, you hit someone else, for example, they are injured, they have up to $30,000 in coverage for their injuries. And then if they have a passenger, the passenger is also injured, they also have up to $30,000 in coverage. So basically until that's maxed out, the $30,000 and then the $60,000 for the whole accident, then that's what your coverage is. I always recommend to have more than the state minimum. There's quite a few other states that have lower coverages than the 30-60. For example, Florida, California, both have very low coverages. I always recommend to have more than that, just because that also helps protect you from being sued. So if you cause a major accident and someone is very, very severely injured, has a brain injury, broken bones, brain bleed, whatever the case may be, they can come back and sue you and potentially take your home. They can garnish your wages for the rest of your life. There's a lot of other things that can happen. And I'm not a lawyer, so don't, this isn't legal advice or anything, but just what I typically recommend to my clients and my members, just to make sure you've got enough coverage to cover your assets, because that's going to be important if you're at fault in an accident. Also, if you have any children, especially young drivers, teenagers, up until like mid-20s, I always recommend to have a little bit higher coverages. Even though it'll be more expensive, it'll be a lot less than if you were to have to pay out of pocket for some sort of loss. So that's really, really important as well. So the second part of the liability portion, when you're at fault, again, is going to be the property damage. So we already talked about bodily injury. Obviously, if someone's injured, that's pretty self-explanatory. Property damage doesn't just cover the other party's vehicle. It can also cover things like a fence. So if you hit someone's fence, run right through it. If you hit their house, if you hit multiple vehicles, it can cover the multiple vehicles per accident. So it's not necessarily going to be per person. So if you hit one vehicle and push them into another vehicle, you're still responsible to cover both of those vehicles' property damage because it was your fault. So state minimum for Texas, again, for property damage is $25,000 per accident, which, as we all know, if someone has a new vehicle, that's not going to cover a whole lot. I know the new trucks, like GMCs and Fords these days, are upwards of like $80,000, $90,000. So it can be really, really pricey if you only have $25,000 in coverage or less. In a lot of states, again, the state minimums for that are less. You can have to end up paying out of pocket, or someone can again try and sue you to get their coverage there, which is why it's really good to have uninsured motorist coverage as well. So that way it can prevent something like that happening to you if someone else is at fault. And we'll cover that in another segment. But I hope you learned something about liability coverage, bodily injury liability, and property damage liability. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Y'all have a fantastic day, and hope you learned some new things.